So wait. It's Amana Tools. I've been saying it wrong all this time. I've been saying Amana Tools.
Well, it depends on who you talk to. So
I'm so dumb.
No, I say it both ways.
I visited them, and there were people who said it both ways. So I think Amana, tomato.
Potato.
Yeah.
Well, out of respect to you guys, I'm going to start saying it Amana.
There you go. And then come to find out we're all wrong. I'm Matt with Walnut Woodworking and your host of the Maker Lounge podcast. The voices you just heard are the same guests that we had from last week's episode. I'm joined today in the lounge by Pete, Trey, and Rod. Last week we talked a lot about CNCs and lasers, and I introduced a game we'll play again in this episode called Yes or No. Thanks for hanging out with us in the lounge. I hope you enjoyed the premiere episode last week with these guys. Whether you're listening to us in the car, while studying how to say Amana, or in the shop, our goal is to make you laugh a little bit and share ways we can bring our crafts together to build a better brand. Initially, I was going to break things up into two parts, but since there was so much to take away from the conversation, this will be part 2 of 3. So make sure that you save our podcast to your library so you can be notified when the next episode drops. But we are picking the conversation up where we left off last time and moving into talking about brands. So Pete, how do you get clients and stuff for like some of your stuff? I notice a lot of the stuff you do is for your shop and things like that. You did a Lego sorter. I was following along on that process, and you came up with this idea. And by the way, those of you who aren't following Pete, which you should be, he has a Lego. I would call it a Lego dungeon. Underneath the stairs, you have so much Legos. It's crazy.
It's like a Lego Harry Potter room.
Yeah. With mind you, a little tiny dog door that's on into that little cave there. But you came up with this Lego sorter, and then you got it to market, and you partnered with April Wilkerson and her company. How did all that happen?
It was kind of a cool situation. I don't do a lot of like selling stuff. I just make stuff for fun. But one day, like the Lego store got a lot of attention the couple times that I posted it. And then one day April just texted me through Instagram and just said, "Hey, I have a company. And if you ever had anything you wanted to manufacture, like let us know." And I said, "Well, how about this Lego sorter idea?" So she put me in touch with Jordan and Jacob on her woodshop CNC company, and we just started talking and iterating on the design, and they did some iterations, and really great people. They're awesome to work with.
It's a clean product.
And Jacob is like super smart on the CNC side of things. Like he optimized all the tool paths and worked all that out, and then we just kind of put it up for sale, and we sold a bunch. It's the purchasing has definitely dropped off since the posts aren't trending as much. But it's been a really cool experience, and they really helped me walk through the business side of things. And I think the biggest complaint was that it's too expensive. And unfortunately, like the Baltic birch plywood and CNC time and labor is really expensive. Hopefully we can try to get it cheaper.
What are you paying now for a full sheet?
So they're getting it all in Texas, and I think they're near. Matt, you're in Houston, right?
Yeah.
Do you know where?
So I can get Chinese
April's
birch.
based?
Yeah, she's about an hour and a half away from me, I think. I can get Chinese C2, C3 birch, which isn't as clean, I think, as the stuff that they're using. I think that they're using like B grade. But the C grade is like $46 a sheet. B grade is probably in the like 60 to 65 maybe dollar range.
For 4x8?
4x8.
Yeah, that seems really cheap.
Yeah.
Are you using half inch?
No, we're using half
Are
inch.
you using half inch? Right? Yeah.
Yeah, out here it's almost like $180 a sheet for a 4x8.
Yeah,
Wow.
that's about, same here.
No
Same
way.
here. In Tennessee.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I can
I
pull
think
up
that
my,
that's probably in the range of what the woodshed's getting it at. I know that the quarter inch is probably less expensive, but where I am now, the half inch is more than the 3/4 inch for some reason. I have no idea why.
Are we talking about birch or Baltic birch?
Baltic birch.
Okay.
Yeah, just the regular Home Depot birch plywood, that's like $60, $80.
67, yeah.
Yeah, but the 13-layer ply,
Good stuff.
yeah.
Yeah, so I'm looking at my price list right now, and C2 birch is 47. Oh, that's 3/4 inch. 3/4 inch is $47. B2, which is like that's the good stuff. 3/4 inch is $75. So not sponsored by Houston Hardwood, but if you're in the area, Houston Hardwoods is my place.
Well, our
And
local
they-
hardware, it sells 5x5, and it's 3/4, and I want to say it's like $80 to $90 for a 5x5. That's not even
Yeah.
a 4x8. So
115 here for a 5x5.
really, sure.
Yeah.
If you can find it, like most of the places around here are out of it completely
Yeah.
because of the situation. But yeah, I mean it's expensive for sure. Hopefully we can get the price down. But it's been a cool experience. April's been fantastic to work with too. She's been really supportive.
Yeah.
Are you guys working with other like big companies or big brands? Like any advice there for working with a big brand? Matt, I know that you're working with Manitool or Tools Today.
Yep. Yeah, so I actually partnered with them, and this goes back to what we were talking about initially, is that follower count doesn't necessarily matter, right? If you find, I think working with brands, the biggest thing is, first and foremost, I think brands want to see that you are interested in buying their product before you're interested in, pimping their product. And, a lot of, I think, people, they cold call. I'm closely connected with a couple different brands, some that they don't sponsor me, but that I just, I talk to them, and have good conversations with them. And a lot of the times they'll say, yeah, people just reach out and be like, hey, I can try your product out for free and give you a, review. And, they don't have the followers or anything like that. Right. If you're cold calling them and you reach out to them, then they're going to look at how many followers you got. That's when followers count. Right. Because they may be willing to like forego a little bit of their relationship in order to get exposure. But I would say majority, I'd say 9 out of 10 times, the company wants to see you actively using their product before they'll really try to engage with you. And the biggest thing is, at Christmas time, send them a message and say, hey, Merry Christmas to you guys. Thank you for your great products. Little things like that go a long way. And you have to, it's a dating relationship, right? This is just my experience. There have been companies that I'm like, I would love to work with them at some point, but I need to invest in the product myself first. And even like I'm partnered with Surf Prep. I still buy Surf Prep product, right? And so they don't just give everything away. And a lot of companies are like that. They expect you to have a little bit of relationship, purchase some of their stuff, and every once in a while they'll give you things. But if people are going into a potential brand sponsorship, they should first be familiar with the product and build up that relationship base. I don't know, guys, what do you think?
No, I completely agree with you. Just like this, just like the Surf Prep stuff. You dive into it. I bought it at the 10% off, just like anybody else, and started my relationship with them. And it has grown from there. Obviously, I'm a Surf Prep guy now, and love everything they have. And you have to just kind of buy into them to show them your worth. I don't know how else to say it other than that.
Yeah, I think a lot of brands, they want genuine users of their products first. Like when I started talking with Avid CNC and Sammy over at Avid CNC, like they were interested in talking with me because I had already bought a machine, like
Right.
and was already a fan of their product and invested in it. So
Yeah, I think a lot of times people will throw around a number, and they'll say, well, I have 10,000 followers, or I have 100,000 followers, and you should want to give me free products so I can, show your product. And that's just not going to go over
That's
well.
kind of what I always thought was the motivation for the followers, because you get free stuff. Because that's what I usually see. Like people with a lot of followers, they'll get sponsorships and whatnot.
There's definitely that. I mean, I'll say, there are more companies reaching out now than did when I had 1,000 followers. But you also have to, when I had 1,000 followers, I would take any potential free product and do any free review for product.
Yeah.
And I think probably there's probably 90% of the people who would agree with me, and the other 10% are lying, and so but once you get to a point where you have other companies, like I don't need another contour gauge, right? Like how many versions of the same contour gauge are out there? And yep, it's a black and orange contour gauge. I have 3 of them, and they all have 3 different names on them. I don't need one more of those.
that is the perfect example. That's the perfect example.
Yes. And, at one point I almost made it a game. Like I thought maybe I can just say yes to all of them. And then just have a collection of contour gauges. And then I thought, well, this would be a perfect YouTube video. Which one performs better? And then surprisingly, the end result is they all perform the same because they're the exact same thing. But no, kind of going back to the brands, Tools Today. I was a purchaser of their products, and then I ordered the Stepcraft through them, and I would use a variety of different bits. Some were red and some were blue and some were silver and all that kind of thing. And I think that they, in talking with them throughout, purchasing bits or whatever, asking questions, I started to build a relationship with them. And, at one point it was, hey, what bit would you recommend for this? And they said, I would recommend this. And, and then they sent me the bit. And that was because we had built up that relationship. And I think there's other companies that I'm affiliated with that are, do the same. Now, there are other companies like with Moss Epoxy, right? I just did the workbenches for the shop. And I had talked with them at Workbench Con, so there was a little bit of a foundation there. But in that particular scenario, I pitched an idea. So there's also that avenue as well. So I pitched the idea, and I think if you have something that's a cool idea that you can collaborate with them, then they're going to be open to making that work. Now, they helped me out with the first part of it, but then I said, hey, I need some tabletop epoxy. I'm going to buy that. Like I just told them that, hey, I want to top coat this. I'm going to buy it. And by then I had a discount code in place so I could purchase it at a discount. So, not everything is free, and they're not just throwing things, Pete, you have a lot of followers. So I'm sure you have companies reaching out all the time trying to get you stuff. No?
What about Lego? Have they reached out at all? No.
I wish. No, actually, surprisingly, I don't have any companies. Like there's the little companies like the shoe brands and some smaller tools, and then there's companies I really want to work with, like High Country Tools, because they make awesome bits. But no, I don't get a lot of response. I think if you wanted that and you went after that and had ideas and went to brands and said, I love your brand, but no. I'm not sure why.
That's surprising to me.
Jerk online or something. I mean, Tools Today put my image in, like you showed me, Matt, the email, and I buy stuff from Tools Today. Yeah, I buy stuff from them all the time. But I had no idea they were going to use my likeness in one of their advertisements. They're just like, hey, this person uses this bit, and I'm like, oh, okay, cool.
You're an influencer.
I guess.
Moss
that's the
Epoxy
word,
put
yeah.
out a email on Friday. They let me know that they were going to do it. They're like, hey, just FYI, we're going to use you in an email coming up on Friday. And I was like, oh, cool. And they put out the email, and it was like, products are something that influencers are using. And it had a bearded woodworker.
They didn't even.
It was bearded work. No. They put my name and stuff like that, which it was really cool.
Okay.
I
It was
saw
a
that,
cool, yeah. It was a cool email, and those guys are really, they're fun. They're fun to work with. But yeah, it's really interesting to see my name in an email. Like when Tools Today one came out, I was like, huh.
So I want to switch this up a little bit.
Yeah.
Is there anybody that uses a brand or is sponsored by a brand that's afraid to use another tool of a different brand of the same
Good
likeness?
ones.
You guys are talking about tools
Yeah.
today. Are you afraid to use another, let's say, I'm going to throw it out there, like Bits and Bits or another big CNC tool brand?
Yeah, so for me, out of respect for Tools Today, I don't show if I use any other bits. There are times when I have other bits in my drawer that I haven't got from Tools Today yet, and I just don't show that in my content. And that's just for me a respect thing. Now, if I told them that I had a project coming up that I needed to use a certain bit on, I'm sure that they would, help me out, to get the right bit. So for me, with that particular instance, yeah, I would not. And in fact, I had when I was starting to do shaker doors, I bought a set of bits from Rockler, and I was making shaker doors with my Rockler bits, and then I was talking with Tools Today, and they're like, "Hey, would you be interested in a Mana shaker set?" And I was like, "Well, yeah, absolutely." I mean, I think for me, I like the Amana tool line. I think they put a good bit out there, and Tools Today carries various versions of those types of sets. But so I got the Amana set, and for me, it performed equal or better than the other one. But yeah.
Well, let's clear the air just a little bit. Tools Today isn't a sole provider of Amana Tools. Amana Tools
Correct.
is a different company that Tools Today carries. So there is
Correct.
other companies that do carry them.
Right.
But Tools Today has done an amazing job of implanting themselves into the community.
Right.
Nothing against Tools Today, and I'm not talking bad about that or the other side of things. I was just clearing that for people that may not know.
Yeah.
So wait. It's Amana Tools. I've been saying it wrong all this time. I've been saying Amana Tools.
Well, it depends on who you talk to. So
I'm so dumb.
no,
I say it
actually,
both ways.
I visited them, and there were people who said it both ways. So I think Amana, tomato.
Potato.
Yeah.
Well, out of respect to you guys, I'm going to start saying it Amana.
Amana
There you go.
Tools.
And then come to find out we're all wrong.
So Matt, you're saying that you won't show or use other bits because you're sponsored by Amana, but you're doing
By
that.
Tools Today,
They
not
didn't
Amana.
actually ask.
Yeah.
Oh, Tools Today. Sorry, but they didn't actually ask you to do that, right? You just did that because you're a good business person.
That's right. Yep. So and like Rock Rooster, right? We've all probably seen the shoe things. Rock Rooster is a boot or shoe company. They reached out to me. They were one of the first people for shoes that reached out to me. I tried their boots. I loved them. It was a free pair of boots. Brunt sent me a pair of boots. I liked them. I was not in love with them as much as the Rock Rooster boots. And then Indestructible Shoes sent me out a pair of shoes to destroy, and then they would replace them. And so I destroyed them on the 4th of July. I put firecrackers in them and destroyed them. And then they sent me out a replacement. I asked for a different kind because I was not thrilled by the fit of those. And so for my content, because I'm not a huge fan of the Indestructible shoes. Now there are people who love them. I was on another podcast and the guy's like, "Are you serious? I love these shoes." But I'm not a fan of their shoes, so I'm not gonna show that in my content because I don't want people to, there's a certain point where if people see you using something and they're going to assume that that's your preferred brand. And for me, if I were to use a different type of bit, that maybe not be my preferred brand, but it's all I had in the drawer, then they might associate me and say, "Oh, that's the preferred brand," when actually my preferred brand is Amana. That's going to be the new name.
So
It's
let's
Amana
go back
Amana.
to the whole other thing is the Indestructible shoes. I got some about two years ago. The Indestructible shoes, they were so bad, I didn't even post one thing about them, and I offered to ship them back.
Yeah, there was another guy who tried them on and said, "I'm not even going to honor these things by destroying them. They're so uncomfortable, I'm sending them back." Yeah.
I was done. I was done instantly. I don't know who you're talking about, but I was in the same exact boat. They were that bad. They were like a freaking rock. Like, understandable if they're not indestructible because they are a rock and like uncomfortable to wear.
Which one did you get?
It's been about 2 years. I don't remember now. I could actually go in the other room and pull out the brand new box and show you, but I don't remember.
I just did a post that was something similar. Who knows where they come from anyway? Because I think they're all manufactured in the same place. But I found a pair on Amazon that was kind of similar, but that actually works pretty well. I don't even
I'm
remember
looking at
the
these
name.
now.
Yeah, these were not
Yeah.
good. I could go in there and get them, but they were that bad.
Because I went through
Okay.
2 pairs of Indestructible shoes too.
Okay.
They just
There was, and I'm not here to bash a company. I realize that they're trying to make a name for themselves or whatever, but I had agreed to that opportunity with them to destroy the shoes, and then I read the reviews. So they were already sent to me, and then I read the reviews, and people were like a month after wearing them, the shoes were falling apart. And they wouldn't honor it because they said that it's normal wear and tear. And I'm like, at what point is indestructible not stand for indestructible? Yeah.
And I'm with you. I'm not here to tear a business down or anybody trying to do something, but in the same instance that you're saying, I don't want people to see me wearing something and hate them that bad that I'm only posting a picture just for the sake of posting a picture. Like, it wasn't worth my post or even my thought process on that.
Yeah.
Hey Trey, you came up with the question about like switching or showing other brands if you're sponsored by a brand. What about you? If you were to answer that question, what would you say?
Okay, so I'm in sort of that I'm in that sort of that mind frame right now. Brunt has been really good to me. I have a pair of the Brunt like tennis shoe style work boots because I do a lot of walking, but I still needed this steel toe or composite toe. I absolutely love them, and I don't wear anything else, so I don't want it to come across that way. But I also have a pair of high test shoes that I had received a long time ago, and I won't show those even if I am wearing them in the garage because Brunt has been good to me now, if that makes sense. That's a whole nother shoe issue, but it's still in the same line of a brand that I don't want to show.
And do you feel that that's like just to along the same lines is just to basically because you're an influencer? Let's just say you're an influencer and you think that people will think that you're affiliated or support the other brand more?
I don't think that they would support a different brand more. It's just sort of in the eyes of the company that has been good to me, and both were good. I'm not taking it down. I'm just in personal preference. The Brunt is better and has been better, and that's just kind of how I feel about it. I don't want to be wearing the high test and posting here currently while still supporting Brunt in the future.
Yeah, fair enough.
So any obligation that I had to high test is over. And I'm not saying I still have obligation to Brunt, but I like Brunt more, so that's why I'm actually showing them more. So if there is a future obligation, or not obligation, a future chance of working with them again, then I would more prefer to work with Brunt than High Test, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
It feels like brands want that as well. They want you to be the brand ambassador, so they want you to really like the product and push for it. So I think it's cool that you're sticking with the brand that you really enjoy. What about you, Rod? Do you have any brands that you really like, or are you working with any brands right now?
I don't have any like any kind of sponsorships or like that, but I have some choices. Like one of the biggest brands, or one of the brands that we use a lot of, is Walrus Oil. So as far as their finishes and things like that, and we'll often post how we finish our stuff with that, and then the tools, of course. Stepcraft is a big one because they've been very good to me as far as support and things like that. So I think it's like what you were saying, the honesty as far as the use of a product goes a long way. And I think brands are aware of that. They want you to honestly, evangelize the product rather than just, doing it because you're expecting something, and if you use it more just as out of because it works great, then I think that shows a lot better. Like a lot of I've been trying to get the attention of Laguna, because that's kind of one of our go-to tools is the bandsaw. Mm-hmm. And you just, as long as you're using it on a daily basis, I think that hopefully they start noticing, and that's what I'm going for.
Mm-hmm.
You just use it as part of your your daily workflow.
So sort of on the same aspect that I was talking about, do you see yourself posting a ton more about the Stepcraft rather than the Shapeoko?
Only because when we're in production, that's what we use mostly. So there's some certain products that require the features of the Stepcraft, but at the same time, what's cool is that the Stepcraft will stand toe to toe as far as the actual quality. It's just that you have to be involved more to change the tools. So I mean, you're gonna and that's kind of the interesting thing, is because when I first started, with some products we make, the Shapeoko was great, and it still performs. It'll create the same product. It's just that the Stepcraft is much more efficient. So I think that gets the message across to people who are getting into it that you don't need to start off in that in the high end machine yet. You just have to know how to use your machine and use it use it properly. That's one thing I learned. Yeah.
Like we talked about, we don't have a auto changer, but we still make do, Pete and I both, and Matt, without the auto changer on our machines. But obviously, anything that would save time and effort is always worth it.
Yeah, one of the reasons why I went with Stepcraft was to get that auto tool changer, which I have yet to get. But I was just on the phone with them today. They were FaceTiming me about, and that's another good thing, is that if you've got questions or whatever, that the guys over there, they'll FaceTime you. They've got a good operation. So he was FaceTiming with me and helped me out with the issue that I was having. And then I was like, man, I think my next thing is I need to get the tool changer. Okay, we're going to play the game again, yes or no. And so the rules are, you can say yes or no or hard pass on this round. And everybody give their answer, and then we can talk about it after we give our answers. All right? So we'll go in this order. We'll go Pete, Rod, Trey. Skip sanding grits to get the job done.
Yes, unfortunately.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Now, I guess how far is the, like, I mean, are we talking we're going from like 80 to 320? Are we going?
Oh, that's too much.
Like what's the tolerance? You don't want to give up your information, Pete? What's your tolerance?
Yeah.
1 grit, 2 grits?
Oh gosh, like 2 or 3 grits sometimes. But
Whatever you can get.
You
away
could have
with.
said hard pass. I'm just saying. You could have used your hard pass on that one.
I mean, I do a lot with plywood, so it's like 80 grit to knock down the most of the stuff, and then I'm right off to the 220. Not the most efficient use of sandpaper.
Right. Like, just got to get this
I
job
would have
done.
to agree with exactly that, especially like the Pac-Man builds. It's sort of the way I go.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm good for a good like 2 grit skip. But yeah, if I'm going 80 to 220, I'm probably gonna.
You can't do that with nice wood.
Yeah. It definitely.
It'll
it
show,
depends on the
yeah.
project, right? I mean, if it's getting painted, it's a little more forgiving, right? I don't think I did this one before. Harbor Freight.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, man.
Sorry.
That order.
Harbor Freight,
Yeah,
yes,
for sure.
all the way around. Yeah, it's yes for me. I mean, it's a
Yes.
great.
Absolutely.
I used to have before I had a nice sprayer. I would just go and buy they're like $20 spray guns, and going back to one of our other questions, after the job was done, I just throw the whole thing away. I wouldn't even think about it. I just build it into the price, and I'm like, $20 for a sprayer. Yeah, I mean, it hooks up to the compressor.
Or use
I was
it for
good to
spare
go.
parts.
Yeah, I wouldn't even do that. I was done. Just throw the stupid thing away. Because it wasn't going to last for a good, more than a couple times anyway. It was from Harbor Freight. But, I mean, they have some good stuff.
Heck, I raced 4 years go-karts off of a Harbor Freight engine and did really good. So there's that too.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Now, different
If
for
you're
chisels,
experimenting,
right?
that is the. Yeah. But if you're doing the experiments and stuff, that's the best place to go.
Yeah, they have some new clamps now that are.
Oh, really? What
The
kind?
731 Woodworks or Woodcraft, I can't remember his name exactly. He just did that side-by-side video. And,
Comparison,
those-
yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, those parallel clamps are, at least in his video, were pretty nice looking.
Nice.
What's the next one, Matt?
Okay. So, speaking of Harbor Freight, I may or may not have done with a Harbor Freight. Used a good chisel to clean wet glue.
Yes.
Pete?
Not
Yes.
Not a really good chisel, but a medium good chisel. Yeah.
Okay, define good chisel. Well, let me
Yeah,
answer.
define
Yes,
good,
my answer is
yeah.
yes. But you go ahead and define your $200 chisel.
No. No, not
Is there a tolerance?
opening a paint can. Opening a paint can with a good chisel.
No.
Ooh, I'm putting that in
That's
there.
a no-no.
I'm putting that in there for the next group. Opening a paint can with a chisel. That's great.
That hurts me a little bit.
That's a solid no. That's a solid no for me. Can't say that I haven't done it before, but just saying.
But not with a good chisel.
You're right. Yeah, with a Harbor Freight one, maybe one that I've used that I
Yeah,
previously cleaned up
that's
wet
what
glue
they're
with.
perfect for.
Oh, yeah.
If I've used it to clean wet glue, then it might open a paint can. All right, let's see. Hand tools are better than power tools, Pete.
No.
I think that's a very situational.
Yeah.
I would say no.
In general, no.
Hey, the rules are yes or no.
Okay. I'm bending the rules.
You're bending the rules. Oh, rule breakers. Yeah, it really does depend on the situation. I was trying to just see who was in the hand tool game. I'm not in the hand tool game.
You're just trying to
if-
start drama.
That's what a
I
good
mean,
podcast
all of us have
does.
CNCs and most of us have lasers, so.
I have hand tools.
Right, yes. Mine are hanging up on the wall where they belong.
Exactly. Yeah.
Uh,
So how
what
often do you, on that subject, how often do you guys handsaw?
Rarely, if ever.
Rarely. I'll do dowel or something like a flush,
Yep.
flush trim, but it's very rare.
Exactly.
It's
For cleanup, like in getting into like squaring up joints and stuff, pretty often. But I don't do it as a main focus.
Okay. Next question. Ready? Used a dust collector until dust was shooting back out and full.
Yes.
You can
Yes.
use hard pass. Don't forget. You
Yes.
can say hard pass.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, I think we've all done that. It's I'm using the planer, and I'm like, why is this stupid thing not working? It's just blowing dust all over me. And I go and I look at my dust collector, and it's just jam packed. Okay, last one. Opening a paint can with a chisel. No, I'm just kidding.
Yes.
Went to install and didn't measure twice before making it. Went to install and didn't
Yes.
measure twice before making it.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know, Bao just he reposted. You guys all know Bao, Design Craft
Oh yeah.
Workshop.
Yes.
He's awesome.
He just reposted one of his installs for his house, where he built cabinets or whatever, and then like he's like stacking them up. And Bao does fantastic content, by the way. Like he's what I aspired to be from a content creation perspective. And so he's just kind of like setting it up, it's just like slow shots and stuff, and you're just kind of really into it. And then he brings the last box in, and it's like twice the size that it's supposed to be. And you're just like, oh, he had me. But I'm like, yep, I've actually done that more than once. And so I said that on the post. I said, man, I was like, yeah, I've done that before. It's frustrating. He goes, yeah, when it happens more than once on the same project, though, that's where it's really frustrating.
I'm surprised you guys don't hang out more. Because you guys are both in Houston, right?
So Houston is like everything is a minimum of 30 minutes away, and he is about an hour and 15 minutes away, even though he's still in Houston. So and that's mainly because traffic and stuff like that. But in Houston, we've got 4 different like rings that go around the city of Houston, and I could take the outer ring and like get to his house, kind of thing. So it's a far way to get down there. But yeah, it would be good. We have a Houston like maker group, but we try to connect once a month or once a quarter, but I rarely get out there. But yeah, he's a
Well,
good
you
guy.
both do awesome content. You guys could do awesome content together.
If we didn't
The
live...
video skills between both of them are absolutely amazing.
I really think we could do something like Four Eyes, how they have it, where they essentially shoot each other's content. I would love to do that. Get into it. We've talked about a couple different makers in the Houston group about getting a shop together and then just kind of doing that. So I don't know. That may happen someday whenever I go full time, but just not right now.
Turn
So
that
actually,
into a
speaking
reality
of,
show.
yeah, I would. I've talked to a couple people, and am very interested in doing a reality show. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what comes out of that.
Y'all
but
could
yeah,
fight over the last piece of walnut.
Yeah. So speaking of painting Walnut, Bao painted Walnut, and he was like driving controversy over that. He had this really amazing, I think it was like a TV console or whatever, and he's like creeping up on the walnut with a paintbrush and like real slow-mo, and you're like, no, he's not going to do it. And then whoop, he just starts painting it yellow. You're like, oh my God, he's doing it. So he like paints just the corner. It's a design feature on the walnut that he's painting. It's pretty funny. But speaking of, going back to talking about brands, I think a brand that stands behind their product and provides good customer service, Surf Prep I think takes the cake when it comes to standing behind their product. I mean, you couldn't ask for a better family run operation. But I would say that, like even Merca, right? There was a woodworker, a friend of mine who lives in the Houston area, who had a Merca sander, and after a few months of owning it came apart, and he reached out to them, and they're like, "I'm sorry, it's not in warranty anymore." But a company like Surf Prep, this person went over and is now using Surf Prep because I mean, even after a year of using it, they will stand behind their product. And so that's another thing, is that people are just super into getting into certain brands without necessarily knowing what's behind that brand. And I think that if you do that legwork in the beginning and establish that relationship, that customer service is going to be there on the back end when you need it.
So I'll say this: any major tool purchase, like, and I say major as in like pretty expensive, and I think a $500-$600 sander is an expensive purchase. To me, it is.
Yeah.
I don't know about you guys or how you think. So I call a company, and I just call them just to see if they answer or what they have. If I have a question, they can answer it, and just kind of get a feel for them, right, like from the start. And Surf Prep, I had a question about the 1/16 or the 1/32 orbit. Just trying to figure out the orbit of the sander, like which one does what best, and so on. I got an answer, and then I kind of knew that I could work with them, or at least in the future, if I had a question, like they would be there to help it. And they've been there ever since, and they're not backing down at all. They're just growing exponentially at this point.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
even just
absolutely.
listening to you guys talk about that company makes me want to like investigate that company. I mean, they're smart. They're really smart. The more that they support the community, the more people will talk positively about them. Whereas the opposite of that is all the drama that just happened with the company a few months ago, and it was nothing but, maybe I shouldn't say the name of it or anything, but it was nothing but negativity online and people actually, saying F this company, and
Right.
I can't imagine I don't know how much that leaks out into the general public who's going to buy that product or not. But
I think it's like the election, I mean, people took a stance on it, right? And then all of a sudden what it did is it bolstered up support on both sides. The problem is that it became a divisive community over this one thing. Now there's a guy that I follow, and he's a friend of mine, but he is a hardcore supporter of that brand, and in fact, like, puts it in people's face. I will not, because of that divisiveness. Now I did some fun, stuff. I gave away my finish to a friend and made a whole joke out of it and stuff like that. Trying to keep it like lighthearted and stuff, but I won't like this guy's posts that have that in it, because it's a putting it in your face kind of thing. And I don't. Yeah, and Pete, you just had a thing with going back to the Lego sorter. I think if you're okay to talk about it, where there was another content creator maker who made a product that was similar. And people were saying, "Oh, you're stealing this idea," and we've kind of gotten to this. You're stealing people's ideas, or it's almost like become this divisive thing. It's not as community as it used to be. Am I wrong?
No, I mean, I think it's more community on Instagram. I've seen some really negative stuff on like TikTok and Facebook, but. Personally, I mean, I think I didn't come up with the idea of like Lego sorting at all. Like, there's other products, there's other people who have come up with those ideas, and then the Unnecessary Inventions did a really cool like vacuum attachment to the Lego sorting idea, and I thought it was awesome. I didn't think it was cool that he kind of snubbed Bob. I like to make stuff, and there was another maker, and he just said, "Oh, that's really manual. I want to make something better." He could have like thrown us a bone and like mentioned us and say, "Hey, these people have done cool ideas, and now I'm doing a cool idea too." But I think his design is awesome. I think it's really, really cool. But the other people who have seen that video first and come over and it's like, "Oh, you're stealing Unnecessary Inventions idea." It's like, these aren't our ideas. We didn't come up with these ideas. They've been around for a long time. So instead of like, if you want to join the conversation about sorting Lego, like, come with more ideas and come with suggestions, and don't just come and want to create drama.
So Bob was very supportive and posted you all on there on his video. I mean, like, that was a great backlog is what I'm trying to say into your video and your product, as well as his change up to it.
Yeah. Bob's been awesome. Like the fact that he mentioned a no-name maker and in his video, and he's got millions of. I mean, that's really cool. That helps the community. That gives a lot of support. Like, I wish more, bigger YouTuber and people would do that more often. But
yeah,
that's
well, I had taken an idea that I saw. It's a cocktail smoker. I took that idea and I saw Rod already, he knows where I'm going with this. So I took that and I flat out copied the same look of it, right? I mean, there was one that's already out there. I made it. I thought, hey, I'm making this thing. It's cool. I put it out there. I immediately got heat from other people who were like, this is somebody else's idea or whatever. And I'm like, oh, a cocktail smoker? And now the design looked exactly like it, right? Because for me, I want to see, can I replicate this using my own methods and my own machinery and stuff like that? So that's really how that was, born. It wasn't going to be the end all be all design. I had some, maybe other aspirations for it. Now, Rod, he took that idea and he made it like 10 times better. He had like this cocktail smoker that had a case, and you could put the wood chips inside the little case, and like it made it like took that whole design and just made it better. And that was awesome. Like, I think I even reshared it or something, and I was like, on your old account, that is. Yeah. But, it's just like, take that idea, make it better. Just like you said, Pete, take that idea, make it better, and help the community. And I think that's what it's all about. Now, there are people who don't share their ideas or whatever. And to me, that's just like, if there's a certain way that you do things that can help somebody else out, to me, that's what the community is all about. And, I don't care if somebody wants to know what paint dauber I'm using, great. I'll send you a link to it. It'll be an affiliate link so I can get a little something out of it, but it's going to be a link nonetheless. Right. And so I love that about the Instagram community, and I'm not really into TikTok. I'm on it, but I'm not into it. But I mean, Rod, like, you took that design and you made it better. And I think that's actually kind of your thing. You take ideas, you make them better. Pete, you do the same thing. I mean, I think we all kind of do that.
Yeah, I think that's just the signature of a maker. I mean, when you posted that, I remember seeing it, and just the learning process, like you said. You want to try it with your own techniques and your own methods and figure it out, because that's a big part of the inspiration, figuring stuff out and seeing what you can come up with. And I think the timing was kind of interesting, because I was making these keepsake boxes that basically were the container you saw that had the top. So it was kind of a natural evolution to just put a hole in the top and turn it into a drink smoker. So things like that are cool, because that's how we all learn. You go to YouTube and you see somebody do something. It may not be specifically what you want to do, but you use it for something else. And that's how the whole community grows. You figure something out and then you apply it to something else. And that's what I love about the whole process, the learning process.
Right. Thanks for listening to the podcast today. You can find Pete on Instagram at Pete223. Trey is at handcrafted_by_Trey. Rod is at The Mountain Makers, and I am at Voltner Woodworking. All of our links will be posted in the show notes. Come back next week and hear the four of us talk about a topic any busy content creator can relate to, and that is balancing priorities. In this world, there are so many competing priorities with family and work. We've all decided to push forward on content creation. Come back next week to hear how each of us works our side hustle into our busy lives. It's going to be another great episode, so you won't want to miss it. Please take a moment to give us a review of this podcast, or send some ideas for future episodes by sending a DM to me on Instagram at the Maker Lounge Podcast, or send an email to makerloungepodcast@gmail.com. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll catch you in next week's episode.